Do you have a sound philosophy? Something that provides the guardrails for you to operate on. And if you're a VP of sales or CEO, when you bring people into your organization, do you provide them with your ethos, with your philosophy? Well, in today's podcast, I want to share with you some ideas on how to do that. I want to share with you 3 or 4 of mine so that you can start to get a sense for how to do this inside your organization or inside your own achievement vehicle. Welcome back to the Bill Caskey podcast. You heard in the front row that I'm going to be doing a webinar, a virtual event on August 15th. So if you're listening to this after the fact, we'll probably do it again sometime maybe in September, but I'm going to reveal the exact campaign that we use to help a company grow from 15 to over $30 million. Check in the show notes if you want to get access to that. I'm limiting it to 20 people, so I suspect seats will fill up here in the next few days. But August 15th, 12 to 1 Eastern, so I'd love to have you there. You know, I was working with a leader the other day doing some coaching for him. One of the services that we offer is I'm able to coach founders, CEOs, creators, people who have companies and they want to grow their businesses. And Jonathan came to me, use a different name. Jonathan came to me and said, look, I'm stuck at $7-8 million. I want to get to 15 here soon in the next couple years. And so we're starting to work together on some things. And one question I had for him was, do you have any kind of a document that tells people kind of your ethos and the culture? And when they come into your company, because you're going to be hiring a bunch of people actually, is there anything that helps them see what you believe in? What are your philosophies? What's the culture? What are the principles you use? You know, in the Bible, it talks about a house built on rock will withstand anything. A house built on sand is going to be a hostage to wind and water and so forth. And so I think it's important when you bring someone into your organization that their success there is built on rock. And rock are the principles, the philosophies that you have. Whenever a company comes to us and says, hey, I want you to come in and work with my team, I share with them what I call the 25 core truths. And these are my beliefs about how business should work, how content should work. It's my beliefs about people, about training, about coaching, a lot of things. Because if somebody calls me and says, hey, I want you to work with my team, and they don't understand this, they might be severely either disappointed or we may be at odds with each other. And it's the same thing for employees. So whether you're a VP of sales, CEO, or whether you're a sales professional, I think it's useful to document your philosophies, how you see the world working, what you believe in, things like that. So let's go through a few of these. Hopefully this will give you an idea. I'm going to give you 5, give you an idea on how you can create something like this for yourself. So philosophy number 1 is, I say, achievement is a game of inputs, not outputs. We spend way too much time concerning ourselves with the outputs. Outputs meaning how many customers do you want? What kind of income do you want? What kind of gross profit do you want if you're a business? I don't think we spend nearly enough time on the inputs. What are the things that we can do that actually move that needle, that actually creates the thing we say we want? So for example, if you want to grow your income from 100K to 500K in the next year or two, you're going to have to really look at the inputs for that. It's not just making 100x the number of cold calls. You've got to look at it from a scaling standpoint. How do I leverage my assets? Those are all inputs. But if you can't do that, if you're only looking at the outputs, you can't control the outputs. I can't control whether someone buys from me or not, nor would I want to. I don't want to control that. That'd be a bad deal. But I can control how often I post on LinkedIn. I can control how many calls I make. I can control how I conduct myself in the sales process with another human being. I can control the questions I ask. I can control my follow-up. I can control a lot of things that will lead to the 500K income. And so that's one of my philosophies, is that if you are obsessed with outputs, great. I want to know what they are. I want to know where you want to go from a results standpoint. But it's all about inputs. It's the game is a game of inputs. And so don't just think of it as cold calling. Think of it as what are all the things that are going to make the needle move toward my result. Number 2, wanting and trying and grinding is not the way to get anything. If you want the sale really bad and you show up in front of your prospect, or if your people do you think that helps them get it? Do you think wanting and groveling and hoping and trying to say the right words at the right time in the right manner to the right person, all that stuff is trying, it's wanting. That doesn't get you to the end result. What gets you to the end result is strategy. When you have a prospect who shows up in your sphere of influence, let's say that they hear about you from maybe a referral, what's the process you take them through? It's got to be more than just you getting on the phone trying to close them. It's got to be more sophisticated than that. Problem is, 80% of the people, companies, their system is no more sophisticated than that. 20% of the companies understand that it's all about strategy. Okay, somebody comes to me cold. They don't know really who I am. Can I send them a video? Do we have an asset library that has introductory videos, a little bit about the company videos? Here's how I work videos. A tour of the facility videos. I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do there so that by the time you show up on the call, you're not wanting and trying for anything. You're really just finding out what the prospect's issues are, what their difficulties are, what they're trying to accomplish. Then you decide whether you can help them or not. So that's number 2 is stop the wanting and the trying. Stop the grinding. Going from 10 hours a day to 14 hours a day, it's just going to burn you out. You got to find strategies. How do you create something that generates traffic? When you generate that traffic, is there a logical sequence of events that occurs so that, again, by the time you get to the call, the groundwork has been laid? Most companies don't do that. Truth number 3, when you detach from the outcomes, you are free to do what needs to be done and say what needs to be said. You know, we live in a world of attachment. We all get very attached to things. I was talking to my daughter the other day. Something happened at the daycare center where she sends her 1-year-old, 1.5-year-old, and something occurred where one of the customers got upset because the daycare center was, I think this person showed up late, and they don't like that, which I don't blame them. And they said, "Look, we're going to have to discontinue our relationship. We're going to have to take your child somewhere else." Well, this person, I don't know if it's a man or woman, doesn't matter. This person got irate and got cross with the director, and then posted on social media some kind of rude, not violent, not threatening, but just rude comments. And so the director emails all the people who has children there and told them what had happened. It was a pretty good email. Said, "Look, here's what happened. We're going to beef up security. We're going to do this and that." And my daughter got upset by it, rightfully so. Like, it's your daughter. You want to provide a safe experience and environment. And if this is the kind of people that are coming in there and talking back to the directors, you don't want that. I mean, I agree with her. You don't want that. But at some point, you kind of have to put it into perspective and say, okay, was there any violence? No. Was there any threats? No. This was a one-off deal. Some dude or his wife got up in arms about they weren't playing by the rules, and so the director called them out. But we've got to learn to detach from those outcomes. Now, you can get worried about it. You can get obsessed with it. You can get focused on it. You can make it the primary focus and vision of your life is fixing this problem, or you can detach from the outcomes. I'm not saying detach from the outcome of a good experience for your child. I'm saying that when we get obsessed, just like when salespeople get obsessed with the deal, what do we need to do to go close that deal? If you're manager, if you're a manager asking that question, that's a terrible question, because now you're in a one-down position. Now you're wanting. Now you're trying. Now you're doing those things that we just talked about are not good to do. So I want you to detach from the outcomes. I think it makes you a lot freer to do what needs to be done inside the sales process. If you remain detached, you will always know what to do or say. I'm not talking about being disengaged and taking your ball and going home if they don't obey your rules. I'm talking about just purely being detached from the outcome. When someone calls me and considers working with me, I'm very detached all the way through. It's not that I don't want to work with them. Sometimes I do. But I want what they want. My intention is to help them get what they want. If that means working with me, that's great. If that means working with another trainer, coach, that's great. I'll even give names sometimes if the chemistry is just not right. But I want what they want. Core truth number 4, being explicitly clear about your offer helps people, prospects, make the right decision. Yes or no. Being fuzzy about it and not having it stitched into your gut creates confusion and hesitation. The offer is the payoff. You've heard me talk on these podcasts a little bit about the offer. And the offer is more than your product. It's more than the price. It's more than the process or frameworks. It's really about what's the transformation that you can give to people? What's the payoff if they engage you? What does their life look like? What's the possible vision? Have you cast a vision for how their life could look if they engage you to do work with you? And most people are lousy at that. Number one, we don't even know what our offer is. And the offer includes 8 or 9 things. I'm not going to go into it here. But if you're explicit and clear about it, and you're able to proclaim that clarity to your prospect, when you get ready to pivot to the offer, to the solution, once you find out what the problem is, then they're going to be left with no other choice to either say yes or no. There's not going to be a lot of questions, a lot of back and forth, and 17 more sales calls. It's not going to be that. So get good at the offer. Get explicitly clear, maybe that's redundant, about your offer, what it is, how it works, what's at the end, what's the onboarding process. I want you to be crystal clear about that. When you are, your customer will understand, and they'll also understand what it's like not to do business with you. What's the fear of missing out? Your offer, taking your offer away, is really the fear of missing out on what you have. Here's my 5th core truth, where I share these with all of my prospects, people who can want to consider working with me. The 5th is your personal brand matters often more than the corporate brand matters. And the reason I say this is because people buy from people. You are calling on a human being. They are being called on by a human being, preferably you, of course. So how is your brand constructed? Do you have content online that you can share with them? Do you have a book or a booklet that you can share? Do you have a lead generation device, a media, a freebie, a video, something that says to them, oh, I'm talking to the right person? When I get ready to talk with a company, I have a video, actually a page with a couple of videos on it, where I share some of these things, what it looks like to work with me, what kind of upside you can expect if you decide to go down this path and you follow my instruction. So I've got a video that helps them. So that way, when we get to the first call, it's an easy conversation because they already have done some of the work. I've done some of the work without being there. But that's personal branding. And if you're not working on personal brand, if you're a sales professional, a sales manager even, I'm always indignant about sales managers, VPs, CEOs. Why aren't you posting on LinkedIn? You want your people to do it. Are you doing it? If not, why not? Because it is below you, beneath you. I know a lot of CEOs who are doing very well posting on LinkedIn. If you're not doing it, but you're asking your people to do it, what are the odds of them doing it? Pretty slim. Maybe not 0, but pretty slim. So anybody listening to this has a personal brand. You've got to be conscious and mindful of it and make sure that you are putting it out there into the marketplace of ideas so that people can recognize you. They can become familiar with you so that when you do invite them to a webinar or to have a call, they feel like they kind of know you. You know, I've said this before. I get calls a lot of times from people who've listened to the podcast, either the Advanced Selling or this one, for years. And they finally call and say, okay, I've been listening. You've been in my ear now in my car for the last 2 years. Time to talk to you about bringing you in to work with my team. Well, my brand has been built. I don't have to manufacture some kind of kitschy response. I don't have to be all that on the sales call. The brand's been built. I work with a group of people in my $1 Million Seller program, which is high-level people who want to get their income to $1 million. And we were talking the other day about the sales call and, you know, how do we do it? Where do we structure it? You know, how do we execute it? Should we record it and listen back and all those things? And I said, my goal is to make the sales call, the first meeting I have with a prospect, inconsequential. Make it immaterial. That way you don't feel any pressure to do the right things and say the right things at the right time to the right people and all that. So your strategy of sales should include some kind of an upfront thing to lessen the importance of the sales call. Not saying don't do it. Not saying it's not good and important to do it right. But if you put a lot of burden on yourself, the customer feels that. They don't want your burdens. They are burdened enough with their pains and problems. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this 5 truths. Do this for yourself. What are the 5 things? Just start with 5. You don't have to start with 25 like I did. I got going the other night. But take a look at some of your beliefs about your business, about sales, about how you operate within the buyer-seller dance. Talk about some of those things. Write down those core philosophies. You can share them with people or not. If you're a VP or CEO, I would definitely share your beliefs and your ethos on culture with people when they come in. These are the guardrails. They can operate within them a little easier. A lot of people don't do that. I hope that's been helpful today. I hope it served you. You can go to billcaskey.com if you want more information. And by the way, check out the show notes. I'm doing this webinar, the $15 million skill stack. I think you'll really like it. Get out on fun. 20 people is my limit. Check the show notes out and you can register there. No fancy lead generation page. It's just a Zoom. It's just a link to a Zoom page where you can register. All right. See you next time. Bye.